Let's talk a little bit about your influences. And Sandy, I guess we'll start with you. Growing up, who were some of your influences?
I think my number one biggest influence was Loretta Lynn.
And why is that?
Well, I didn't really get into country music until I was in my late teens, early 20s, and listening to Loretta Lynn, she just grabbed me on the radio. Her stories, the way she sang a song, and what she was singing about made me feel something.
Now, Jerry, you kind of come into the group, and you've just gotten yourself into country music. So what were your influences growing up?
Well, I grew up in the 60s. So early 60s, it was sort of the folk revival. And I kind of got into some of the more obscure bands, the Greenbrier Boys, New Lost City Ramblers, these guys. And then, of course, the later 60s, it was the Grateful Dead, the Jefferson Airplane, Cream, Paul Butterfield. And so that's kind of what I cut my teeth on, was that era. And I still listen to a lot of that stuff. But then when I started playing dobro and then pedal steel, it introduced me to a whole world that I had ignored all my life. And it was country music. And I really fell in love with it, fell in love with country music, and discovered some of the older acts, Ray Price and Lloyd Green and these guys that I'd never even heard of. So, and it also kind of reawakened that early interest in the folk revival, kind of connected to it as well. So.
And you grew up with that in the 60s, and I'm sure.
Yeah.
Very nice. So, Sharon, when you first got started into music, what were your influences?
Well, frankly, it started with Elvis Presley with me, and then the Beatles, like Jerry, but then Motown exploded on the scene, but then growing up in the South in Atlanta, I also got introduced to the Memphis sound, the Stax Volt Review, and the kind of rough-hewn sound of R&B from Memphis. But then I started listening to Crystal Gayle and Kenny Rogers and Dolly Parton and Linda Ronstadt, and of course the Eagles, and all those country crossover acts from Southern California, Pure Prairie League, Jackson Browne, and so forth, J.D. Souther, the Eagles, and I got hooked, and that led me to start listening, like Sandy, to music from Nashville. So I'm listening Kenny, Dolly, like I said, Highway 101, Randy Travis, the new traditional movement, and I was hooked from that point on. Those are my early influences.
So, Rich, apparently some of your influences as a child came from your dad. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, well, my dad would sit around. He had an old Gibson 64 J45, which I've inherited since he's passed away, and I play that at home. And he would sit around and he'd play, Johnny Cash and sing it, and he had a deep voice, kind of like Johnny Cash and Waylon Jennings and some of that music. And whenever we'd go in the car, we were always listening to country music, listening to that music, listening to, we wore out Johnny Horton tapes and Hank Williams tapes. So, I grew up with all of that. And then we had a restaurant and we had a jukebox, and when they replaced the old the records on there, I'd get the old scratchy ones. So I had a box full, and then I kind of discovered the early Beatles rock and roll, which I loved, and Creedence Clearwater, and so those were like my earliest influences. And then, by the time I was a teenager, I was not really interested in country music. And then I got into the rock, but it's just like, you grow up going to church, you come back to church, you come back to that music you grew up with. And so that's kind of where I'm at.
Mm-hmm. So, considering there's a wide variety of musical influences with you all, I mean, from everything from Loretta Lynn to the Beatles to the music out of the 60s and Elvis Presley and Motown, and you've gotten yourself now into country, what can people expect when they come to your show? What kind of sound does Deep River bring to the stage?
I think that with our original songs, we kind of run the gamut between blues, country rock, bluegrass, and country rock. Linda Ronstadt was a great influence of mine growing up when I was a teenager. And, we take, I think, our influences, and as songwriters, we put that into our songs. Into the music, into the lyrics, of course, and then into the music. It wasn't until I was an adult that I realized that the Eagles have pedal steel in their band. And my ear had to mature, and listening to these musicians, picking out the dobro, the mandolin. I was a guitar player, so I always tended to listen to the guitar growing up, especially the acoustic guitar. We play Cajun. We have a Cajun song. I love Cajun music. And then we do all these different covers of a lot of bands that we've already mentioned.
Very nice. So when people come to see it, let's say at Feed and Seed, what can they expect? I mean, is it dance music? Because you've given us kind of an idea of there, but there's all sorts of different ballads and so forth in those genres. What do you guys find yourselves playing the most when you're up on the stage?
Well, I don't think that it would be confined to a single style.
Okay.
We play, this broad style from really, really old traditional pure country up through sort of folk rock. We even do a Beatles cover. But if it's a danceable room, we will play a lot of dance music. And that is something that's just very satisfying to be playing for a room full of people that are having fun dancing.
All right, well, let me ask this then. Where would you guys like to go from here? Because I know you were in Nashville at one point in time. You came back to Asheville, or you moved to Asheville because of the Blue Ridge Mountains. It's a wonderful city, and I understand all of that. And you formed Deep River, if you will, restarted the band, reboot, if you will, version 2. Where would you like to see Deep River go from here?
Well, I would say that the latest sort of change for us, positive change for us, is we're playing in some rooms now that we haven't traditionally played in. Historically here in Asheville, we've played in everywhere from Barley's Tap Room to Feed and Seed to the Grove Park Inn, lots of private events, of course. But now we're playing at venues like the Altamont Theater downtown. We're in discussions to play at some of the other ticketed rooms. I guess that's how I would refer to them around town. And that tells me that we've developed a following and an audience and people who are willing to pay to come see our shows. And that's a real compliment to us that we've worked hard to cultivate over the years.
And we tailor each show depending on the room that we play at. So on Friday night, October 16th, when we play Feed and Seed, they have a very big dance floor. People come there to dance. Families come there to have fun. So we're going to play a lot of dance music that night. When we play the Altamont on Saturday, November 7th, that's more of a listening room. So we might do some songs acoustically. We change up the set list and we kind of gear it for the room and what we think the audience is going to want to hear that night. But it's always about that harmony, the rich vocal harmony. We have 3 individual lead singers. Each one of us, I know Joan couldn't be here today, but each one of us, me, Sharon, and Joan, we all have a different tone to our voice. And I think that the people that come to see us, some people love it when Joan sings, some people love it when I sing the lead, and some people love it when Sharon sings the lead.
But as far as an overall ambition, I don't think we're chasing a record deal. I think that we're looking to get better at what we do.
Yes.
And that's been the big bonus for me personally, is that I've become a better player because of playing with them. Particularly this guy, playing behind this guy, playing rhythm behind this guy, it's made me a much better player. I'm listening more, listening to everybody. So that's my ambition. It's just that we kind of hone our craft.
And to have fun.
Yeah.
But make no mistake, the band is about the vocals. And so what Jerry and I do, we're just accoutrements to trying to, put something around the vocals and not get in the way, just to add to that.
So let me ask you this. With all the major acts that are out there today, who would you guys say you sound most like or that would be in the same ballpark as you?
Sure. Today's country, I'd say it would be Little Big Town. We've always admired their 4-part harmony, which is incredible, and their songwriting, and they're just a very warm and exciting band. If you look maybe one generation behind them, I would have to say it's Highway 101, Restless Heart, Diamond Rio, Shenandoah, even Alabama, those great traditional country vocal groups. And that's how we define ourselves. And, that's really our footprint, if you will, the essence, as Sandy said.
So, considering you're seasoned musicians, and I don't mean that in any derogatory sense, but for someone who's coming up, who's just getting started, maybe has a dream of chasing a record deal one day, or just wants to be in a band, what's your advice for them?
I would say you want to go with what's in your heart, hone your skills and your talent, practice, 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 and then surround yourself. Go out there in your community and find like-minded people who are also talented and who are also doing the same thing. Play with as many musicians as you can. Learn different types of music, because that's going to make you, when you come back to the music that you love, that if you're a songwriter as well as a performer, musician, singer, it's going to make your music better. So just doing it every day.
And Jerry?
Yeah, don't be too quick to quit your day job either.
Yeah.
That is solid advice.
You have to support it, right.
Sharon?
I wholeheartedly agree with what Sandy and Jerry have said, and I would encourage someone with that kind of aspiration or dream to move to a music center. Once you've done the things that Sandy and Jerry described, move to a music center like Nashville, if that's your aspiration to be a country musician, and start networking and meeting other musicians and songwriters. It's really nice if you can write the songs that you sing, or at least co-write them. It'll pay off for you in the long run. And that's where you're most likely, if you've got that right combination of talent and emotional maturity and connections, that's where you're most likely to make it. New York, Los Angeles, Nashville, these music centers.
Okay. And Rich?
Don't get married too young. If you can start playing when you're young and you have that time, if I didn't have that time that I put in then, I don't know if I ever would have got to the point that I'm at. And I'm not satisfied with where I'm at, but it just takes a lot of work to work on your musicianship. And time, the older I get, the less time I have to do it. So, put your time in as much as you can when you're young, when you can find the time.
And I think most importantly, you have to be able to believe in yourself, because the music business is about rejection. And you're going to get rejected many more times than you're going to be successful. So as a young person, you have to be not cocky, not overly confident, but confident in yourself. Be able to take criticism or rejection from one area, and there might be some pearls of wisdom there that can help you, or if not, you have to be able to brush it off and keep moving on.
Amen. Again, Deep River, thank you so much for coming in, and make sure to go visit with them. But before I let you guys go, website, Facebook pages, is there any place people can connect with you?
Sure. You can connect with us at reverbnation.com/Deep River, all one word, or you can go to our Facebook page. I think it's Deep River Asheville on Facebook. So that's a good way to follow us.
And you can hear our music there for free.
Yeah.
Stream it.
Perfect. Well, thank you very much again for coming in. We do appreciate you.
Thanks
Thank
for
you.
having us, Roger.
Appreciate it.